Good.
Hello and welcome to episode 157 of Dissonant Waves. My name is Dominic,
Hello.
and I've had some of the worst traffic I've ever dealt with in terms of just going to work, coming from work, parking my car. It's been a day, but it sounds like Trix and Ritz have also had days themselves.
I saw Petite
Let
League
Trix
last
stop.
night with a stomach bug.
Yeah, actually, there's one question I needed to ask you about that we didn't really get the clarification, or maybe we did and I missed it. Petite League were late to that show, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
What exactly happened?
I did not get an answer for that. I didn't stick around long enough to ask because I was gonna puke my brains out.
You theorized though that it's just fucking Ithaca.
Yeah, well, they were an hour and a half late, so I don't think it was totally the Ithaca traffic.
So,
Because the thing with Ithaca is that every goddamn road is a fucking one way.
so you saw Petite League and you ended it by puking.
Yes,
The breakfast that you were going to have didn't happen, I'm guessing.
it did not happen. I hope it happened because I would have been able to have Petite Déjeuner with Petite League.
Well, I'm glad that both things didn't occur at the same time, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Because I didn't even know
great,
that.
great show though.
That's good. That's good. Well,
And I've been continuing. When was the last time that we recorded an episode? What was that would have been
2 weeks ago. Cage the Elephant.
2 weeks ago. So by then, the last one I would have seen would have been Royal Otis. That would have been gig number 18. I'm now on those 2 weeks, up to gig number 29.
Damn.
Wow.
It was a little period. It was why we're taking this week off. That I'd like to call the gauntlet. Now, obviously, if we go by world record holder standards, I'm a little slow. This is closer to the pace, but still a bit slow. On there, but obviously, according to probably the normal standards of people, I've probably seen more gigs in the last 2 weeks than some people will see this year.
Yeah,
definitely more than I'll see.
I guess I'll start it with the first one of this gauntlet. So it started on the 27th. Sorry, the 26th. I've said for some fucked up reason. 27th of February and ended literally last night at 2 a.m. It started off with Mogwai. They the Scottish post rock band. They did their Australian tour. I got a ticket for Christmas for that one. A Broken Sail was the only opener. It was kind of funny. They were also post rock, but they were a lot more ambient sounding, like very like soft. And so when Mogwai came on, it was just a stark difference in just volume. If you didn't have your earplugs for Mogwai, you don't need earplugs again because your ears don't work.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
After that, me and my brother on a whim decided this wasn't originally part of the gauntlet. It kind of just got added at the end to see Holy Fuck, the Canadian electronic band.
The band I've considered covering before.
Yeah. There's actually not too much I could say about that one, to be honest. It was a pretty just standard gig. You know, they were fine. They played Lovely Allen. They played Red Lights, the two songs I actually knew about them. It was just fun. It was funky. I didn't realize Oxford Art Factory could actually close off half the gig. Like, oh, not half the gig, like half the venue. So it definitely undersold. I think it was originally like $70 tickets. We bought them for $45, and this wasn't resale. This is official.
Interesting. Okay.
Funnily enough, my friend's band, Aphrodisiac, congratulations, you get your first ever shout out, was playing in the room next door. So Oxford Art Factory has two rooms in it. The main room, which Holy Fuck was playing, and the gallery bar, where usually that's a lower... the smaller bands play. And he was playing that. I caught up with him before the gig. He put me on the door. I don't count this as a part of the 11, so it would technically be 12 if you want to count it, but I caught the last 10 minutes of his gig as well. So that's technically a part of it, but it wasn't really a full gig, so it's not
doesn't really count.
Next day after that, MJ Lenderman opened up for Wednesday, who I finally got to see. That was a hell of a one. There was no barrier at the actual stage and stuff, which is like the first time I'm going to the Factory Theatre where there's been no barrier. It's kind of funny because MJ Lenderman is a lot more pure country than Wednesday is, but people were probably moshing a lot more to MJ Lenderman at times than to Wednesday, except for Bull Believer. That went off.
That was my first question. Did they play Bull Believer?
That was the closer, but hold on to your questions for Wednesday. Okay. We're going to move on to the next one. It was a nice little family gathering. We saw the National. Annie Hamilton opened, and so did Fleet Foxes.
Oh, fuck.
Shit.
That was an absolutely insane gig. Matt Berenger was probably drunk. Yeah, he kind of kept going into the crowd. It was funny. I don't know if he was drunk or not. Fleet Foxes is absolutely incredible. It is just, they don't do any like stage antics, but they just play what their sound is, and it's just so orchestral anyway. It's just like a fantastic. I mean, this is basically a sit-down gig anyway, so it was kind of the right vibe for it. Annie Hamilton was good as well, but she was very soft rock, and the lights were completely off, so we might have all been drifting asleep during that one. Not because she was bad; it was just a lullaby.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
After that, the trip to Brisbane starts. So I got a recommendation to see Mild Life. They were doing a free gig during the day. The day I arrived in Brisbane. And Surprise Chef opened. That was just a nice little picnic one. But this is the insane thing that I think I forgot to tell you two that I did. Was 30 minutes before I fucked off out of my door to the airport, I was like, what gigs are happening in Brisbane tonight? I know that Mild Life is happening, but what else is happening? And I saw Wednesday we're doing another show in Brisbane.
Oh.
And I decided I'll get the ticket. But it wasn't like the Factory Theatre, which was announced a while ago, like main venue gig. This Wednesday on the 3rd of March, we were originally supposed to play in a festival in Mullumbimby, which is like top of New South Wales, very far from Sydney, kind of actually surprisingly close to Brisbane. That got cancelled, so now Wednesday didn't have anything to do until they went down to Golden Plains. So Jet Black Cat, which is the same one that organised that Mild Life, I've written as Midlife in my document here, so apologies for that. They announced at 10 o'clock the night before that they were going to do a show at a place called Season 3. And because it was at 10 o'clock and everybody was at other gigs and stuff like that, I think it was Seasonal Fruit, which is what they were originally only doing in Brisbane. Everyone was basically asleep, not noticing, and all that shit. So when I thought it was the main thing. It turns out I bought a ticket to the secret show, which had sold out by the time that I got into Brisbane.
Hell yeah.
It was 100 capacity and basically a house gig.
God damn.
Fuck yeah.
And that MJ Lenderman, who's obviously the guitarist for Wednesday at the moment, didn't open on that one. We got some random, almost kind of like a Doris style, like that's the best comparison I can do to artists you've listened to. Emo act opening called Planer. They were actually really good. They didn't talk much, but they kind of just performed the songs, which were great. It was surprisingly an all ages gig as well, but there was only one kid there.
Sure.
Which I found awesome. Like, now kids now just go into a secret show. And they played, after Bath County, they played a cover of a Drive-By Truckers song.
That I think you mentioned, didn't you?
That I mentioned, but I didn't mention that it was a secret show.
We got to do drive-by truckers on the podcast at some point.
I have also considered driver truckers. Having never listened to them, the name alone is very interesting to me.
I've listened to them a lot. I love them.
I haven't properly listened to them. I know they got a new album out.
Ritz, you'll hate them.
Probably. But I like Wednesday. Monday night, there was nothing to do in Brisbane. We skipped through that. Tuesday, Black Country New Road. It was
fuck yeah.
Basically doing all the stuff from live at Bush Hall, but the important thing was got to see Mouse Tui live.
Hell yeah.
What a fucking concert. Holy shit.
I pinged Mouse many times on Discord to play I Ride the Bus, So Do You, but we didn't get that live. Oh well. All you can do. After that, Sam Guy's Good Bog. It was like a little death metal hardcore show. The mosh of the fucking gauntlet. Just because there was a song and the singer said, "Here's a footy. Whoever has this at the end of the song gets any item they want from the merch table for free."
That's awesome.
I think you can tell how that mosh went. That's fucking funny.
I love that. I need to be in one of those. You would see me fucking tear scalps in a mosh pit.
Trix is... See, we call it Kill the Deal with the Pill over here, but he called it Murder Ball.
Murder Ball also works.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's ever been a term for that type of game for you two? Is it a cultural difference, or is it just random names?
I mean, Murder Ball's always just been like a random term for like a violent ball sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in that case. Well, we have an official name for that, where the whole idea is... I mean, it's a bit of difference, obviously, because in this case, you actually have an end goal of holding the ball. And usually when you play Kill the Deal with the Pill, the whole idea is that you have the pill not to win something, but just to be an egotistical show-off. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay.
Day after that was back in Sydney. We're almost at the end of this gauntlet, so if you think it's been a while, just me describing this was like 12 days. So it was a grind.
I'm gonna need like Sydney. A Ken Burns documentary on this.
Hot Mulligan finally played SR in Sydney. That was funny because the crowd were being dickheads and asking Tay to do a shuri the whole time, and he just kept refusing. He didn't back down. It was fantastic. You know, I don't mind if an artist wants to do a shuri, you go ahead. But there was obviously a case of he didn't want to do a fucking shuri.
What's a shuri?
You pour beer into a shuri and you drink it.
Oh, okay.
Absolute classic.
Surprisingly, I know the concept. I just didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Day after, down in Canberra, 3-hour bus ride. Not fun. But I saw Blind Girls for the whole reason of seeing Hanoi Traffic. They played Hanoi Traffic. Probably played for 15 minutes, and it was hectic.
Okay.
So my favorite part was when someone climbed the wall to do a stage, not a stage dive, to do a crowd surf, but no one noticed him, so he just flopped.
Oh no!
He got up. It wasn't. And then back in Sydney, Blind Girls again. I mean, look, they're fucking great. It's full on screaming. I mean, I forgot to mention as well, the Blind Girls one at Canberra was 8th of March is International Women's Day. Hanoi Traffic was the only band there out of all four that didn't have a female vocalist.
Right. And
all the other ones were just female screamer, and they tell you what, they screamed their fucking lungs out, man. I don't think they needed the microphone to work because it kept breaking. It was fucking insane.
Sounds it.
Recommend. Blind Girls are great. Love them.
And is that the end of the gauntlet?
That's it.
Okay.
That's the gauntlet. I've been fucking tired since.
I have one more aside I would like to share about the Petite League show. And that is the opening act had to play for so long that they ran out of stuff to do and played one cover song 3 times.
Which one was best?
Which song or which version of it? Probably the second time because it was actually pretty funny because they played it immediately after. But by the third time, it's like, oh, come on, get new material.
But here's a question I have for you, Trix. When did you start to feel ill?
Oh, Thursday night.
So before the show, even.
Yes.
Interesting.
Like 4 in the morning, Friday morning, I was just throwing up all over myself.
I can't believe I'm still eating dinner as Trix describes this.
Sorry.
It's a great rice bowl. I don't care.
I'll still never forget the Halloween party we were at.
It was reminiscent of that.
Just 2 ships passing in the night.
Yeah.
Me getting dressed to leave, and you going in the bathroom to do that, and me not knowing, and you were waiting for me to leave the bathroom too, which is very funny.
Yeah, like I was kind of pacing back and forth.
Well, the big thing to remind ourselves is that over these 2 weeks, especially as I've been going to gig after gig after gig, is that I somehow managed to listen to everything at least once.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And, we have a good spread of things that we listen to. I kind of took advantage of it being a 2-week span, because we kind of knew beforehand. But, you two, you could say you did or didn't. In Trix's case...
I tagged on some stuff.
Yeah. We're celebrating Shakey Graves Day in full force this time around. You picked 3 different releases from Shakey's private catalog. We did the Above Below EP, the Live from the Good Music Club, I guess, little show. Then, as per request, I did our next installment of Radiohead and Muse by going into Thom Yorke's The Eraser and the Spitting Feathers B-side EP, and Muse's 6th album, The Second Law. Meanwhile, Ritz, you chose the Captain Jazz self-titled that came out in December, and that is Captain Jazz, not Cap'n Jazz, just to make that differentiation.
December 1st, so it marks the start of the 2024 circuit.
Yep, and you also put on Big Scary's new album, Wing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, a good sprawl of things. Why don't we celebrate Shakey Graves Day right now and talk about the 3 things?
Okay.
Because honestly, I don't know how much we're going to have to really say about them.
Yeah, it's more Shakey Graves.
Ritz, wake up. It's time to cover Shakey Graves again.
Look, this is going on to the live stuff. Actually is when I'm excited to listen to Shakey Graves. I said it with West of Calgary, that it genuinely surprised me, that I enjoyed it, because Shakey Graves is so much better as a live artist than a studio artist. And
he is.
This has not changed my opinion on that, because I enjoy this. Yeah, I mean that's it. I actually enjoyed listening to it. It's pretty calm on the bus ride. It was helping that I was reading Scott Pilgrim, which I bought the whole collection of in Brisbane and then binged in 4 days on travel.
Hell yeah.
Tell you what, great story. But I mean, it's good. It was interesting hearing some of the combo, even if that's not really what I want to go back to. I mean, if you really want more Shakey Graves, this is more Shakey Graves, and it's a good Shakey Graves. I think this is just kind of going back into a repeat of what's already said, though. If we really fully cover this, that's the only problem.
I mean, realistically, there's no new material that we're covering. It's songs that we've heard.
Above Below, we're covering new stuff.
Oh, let's see. Above Below, because yes, Above Below, there's alternate versions of Kids These Days, and I guess some of the stuff here is new.
Man of War is new.
As Long As You Love Me is a duet with Buffalo Hunt, so she's also back in the mix. But I mean, I think the songs that were on Above Below probably did not stand out that much to me.
That's fair.
One in a Million was interesting. The other ones were interesting. Just Shakey Graves. But I like Shakey Graves, so I'm gonna listen. But it's not You know, it's not Can't Wake Up. It's not And the War Came even.
Yeah. I would like to give credit to Man of War for being an almost out of place track.
In what way?
Like just the end, how it kind of devolves into this kind of like fuzz collage, if I'm remembering correctly.
Sure. It's interesting that like he kind of just he seems to save like Shakey Graves stuff is often just either offcuts or like alternate tracks or something. Like this Above Below thing is kind of like it's centered around kids these days and kind of it's like a open end and ender.
Yes.
And they're very different versions at that.
They are.
Because the Kids These Days 2 is kind of a really kind of drawn out, like long intro into the song.
Got a bloopy synth.
Yeah. And then the last one's kind of the acoustic Kids Forever kind of replaying it as kind of like, oh, now we come full circle and all this stuff has happened and now we're back here.
Yes.
But the other two EP album things that we covered are just live shows or just like random collections of things that we've definitely heard before.
Yes.
No, I'm not crazy there.
You're not.
I mean, I think to me the most interesting thing was hearing the radio interview.
Yes.
A very smiling young man live at KUTX into Bully's Lament and talking about the origin of Shakey Graves' name and how that all happened, and then
droopy wieners.
Yeah, and the guy being really impressed that Shakey was doing the whole busking thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very funny to me how many times I think we're gonna have to listen to certain songs in this discography.
Hey, that's what we signed up for with Shakey Graves.
Yeah, but I find it funny that
did we really though?
Shakey Graves fans were like, yeah, you've heard Bully's Lament, but have you heard this version on YouTube that was recorded in some dude's basement in 2010 with a fucking flip? In fucking that got away from me.
I didn't sign up for shit. You just keep fucking bringing Shakey Graves on here.
Hey, I love Shakey Graves, okay?
At a certain point, I just kind of gave up and like, okay, well, I'm just here for this now, and I'll fucking, I don't know, I'll find something crazy that you'll hate and put that back on you. There's been a couple things you haven't responded too well to.
I just look for excuses to listen to Shakey Graves and to torture you slightly. And I can do both at the same time, which is pretty sweet.
I respect the grind. I really do. But we still gotta every time critique it like we've been critiquing every album. And I mean, in the end, it's like, yeah, I said you won. I think it's great, a great live artist, and the live stuff is great.
Oh yeah.
I don't care about the studio stuff that we see on the other stuff, and I mean I probably prefer the Great Club or Good Music Club, sorry, EP more than the As Per Request, but I do like that there's one with a bit more. I do like that there's this thing with a bit more B-side or deep cut live versions, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I like the As Per Request stuff mostly because of the radio interview, and I think I really like Christopher Columbus and Perfect Parts as those versions. I think those are really nice.
That they are.
And you know, hearing the Dearly Departed duet with Esme Patterson, you know, they can both bring it.
Yeah.
And it's cool to hear them do it live. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. But
yeah, you all should train a thought there.
Yeah, sorry, but like there's so many, you know, collections of these that we're going to be going through now. It seems like that it's interesting kind of having all these little snapshots where it's like, you know, As Per Request is kind of a collage, a hodgepodge, and Live at the Good Music Club is kind of just a set.
Wait until we get into the wonderful world of fan albums.
We are never going to finish Shakey Graves, it seems.
No.
There is a wealth of music from this man.
You know, stuff like this does not make me feel guilty whenever I go back to the well of musician we've covered many times.
I see no problem with it.
Yeah. I've got nothing else to say about this.
Hey, Roll the Bones is still a great song. Bully's Lament is
Oh,
still
yeah.
a cool song.
Built to Rome is still pretty good live.
And we're going to hear Unlucky Skin at least 5 more times, I'm sure.
Oh, probably.
It's such a beautiful song about accepting death.
Will I remember what Late July is next time I hear it? Is the question.
Probably.
Now, I mean, now that I've gotten really familiar with it, we'll see.
Drove the bus down to Mexico, parked it on the cliff where the good grass grows.
Looking at some other stuff on the Shakey Graves, the 37 albums worth of material I have on my computer.
Hell yes.
Live at the Fox seems like a really interesting show we should cover at some point.
All right.
There's a song here called Googling Cocaine. It looks like it's a little interstitial thing. It's like 20 seconds long.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm going to listen after this episode.
And there's a version of Chinatown, which I would love to hear.
Yeah, Chinatown is one of those ones that is always fun to hear when it pops up, because it's one that's very infrequent.
Yes, and
You have to seek out Chinatown.
yes. Oh my god! And then there's another one. There's Live at Levon's, which is a 9-minute version of Unlucky Skin and Built to Rome.
Yep.
And a 12-minute version of Late July and Roll the Bones.
Oh yes.
There's so much more to cover. Holy shit!
There is a ton more to cover. We have to talk about the mystery of the ivory tablet.
The Mystery of the Ivory Tablet.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Why is this so much? Why is it? Well, I know this is just giving Trix what she wants, but sometimes you don't get to win everything, and you have to accept that someone else has won. And in this case, Trix has won. And I thought for a little period it'd be like, okay, well, it'll be a couple weeks, maybe, like maybe 7 episodes or something like that, and then all the Shakey Graves stuff will just be whatever comes out next. But it never ends.
Granted, she seems to more do it whenever there's new movement on Shakey Graves' front. It's not always random.
I understand, and to Shakey, I always will appreciate the live stuff, but it never ends.
And watch, now we're gonna do one around my birthday, also known as your birthday.
Yeah, I'm thinking about going down to Melbourne and saying "fuck you" to you.
It is worth remembering that he did put out 10 albums this year.
He did
already.
Yeah, he did.
Although technically those were already out.
Not officially.
It doesn't matter how technical it is. It exists, and we haven't covered it.
Oh shit! I think I have the Mystery of the Tablet. I think that's an album itself.
Yeah, it's like it is an album itself. It's Shakey Graves 9 Mystery of the Ivory Tablet. It keeps going, and I can't read the rest of the fucking text on it.
Yeah, neither can I. But yes, cool stuff. I like Shakey Graves. I am ready to keep tackling this as much as we need to, because it's funny to me at this point that it just keeps happening.
Oh yes.
I don't really have a favorite or least favorite other than I like the Live from the Good Music Club. Yeah, it might just be one set, but it was a good set.
Damn good set.
I like the radio interview with Bully's Lament, and the Shakey Groves comment was funny. Christopher Columbus Perfect Parts were really nice highlights on As Per Request. Above Below, the Kids These Days rapping was nice in terms of the rapping the album, not that he was rapping.
In the music video for Kids These Days, he's actually dressed up as a SoundCloud rapper.
Sure. And eventually, you're just gonna start putting on Shakey Graves' movies that he was in, and we'll be watching those.
We're going to be watching a masterpiece with Sylvester Stallone.
I know what you're talking about.
Actually, I was in when I was in Brisbane. There's this great store in Uptown. It's like a It's like the mall above the bus station, and it's called DVD King. I know that sounds incredibly generic, but it's great because they actually have like a good collection of DVDs and stuff like that for stuff to watch. And I finally have picked up Boy. I'm gonna actually fucking watch that film.
Which one?
Boy, BOY.
Boy.
It was basically Taika Waititi before the Marvel and stuff. It was it's like a coming of age. It's a coming of age film.
Yeah, yes. I couldn't remember. I couldn't know if we were talking about The Boy or Boyhood.
No, there was a couple of movies I was interested in. With some of these being rare and hard to find and stuff like that, and I'm just trying to get a copy. Yeah, they're not too cheap. I could have picked up Buffalo 66. That one was unfortunately getting that, and Boy was a bit out of my price range.
Fair enough.
They have a whole selection, a whole section for controversial movies, including banned films.
Fun time.
Hell yeah.
Like you can get a lot of it is just gore stuff basically.
Yeah,
but you can get
the death.
Yeah. I think the one that I recognize the name of there, I can't remember exactly what it's about, but I know apparently it's pretty gory. Was the Burko experiment.
Yeah.
They also had some that are controversial for sex reasons. The big one that I saw there that everyone kind of knows the ending, or like everyone in the know for this sort of stuff knows the ending and why it's a bit ick was the Brown Bunny.
Yes.
They had some film which was basically just a porn. Like it wasn't, but it was like it would be a lot of sex and it was just real sex. I mean, I know Brown Bunny is a real sex rabbit as well, but I think it was just like 2 hours of that basically.
Yep.
Damn.
A lot of video nasties and the softcore-ish stuff. They really skirt the line. Some of them are really interesting. Some of them are just whatever.
And an American Psycho was in that same section.
Did you see a Serbian film there?
I didn't see it there, but I wasn't looking for it.
Fair enough.
Cannibal Holocaust?
No, I don't think they had that one there too, but it might have sold out because that one's a really popular one.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, Shakey Graves, good stuff. Always one
also, guys, I have lit the second joint.
Goddamn. Godspeed. God rest.
Restorative properties.
Yeah, what are we moving on to?
I mean, so in terms of like interesting surprises this week, The Simpsons 2 sure is a track.
Yeah.
Alright, so Captain Jazz from Captain Jazz. Not to be confused with the 90s second wave act, which basically pioneered a lot of what emo has become Captain Jazz. This is the new album from seems to be the solo artist. It goes under Captain Jazz, and the way that I kind of described this album was just because it's a shit post doesn't mean it's not serious.
I'm curious.
And so you can go first.
Beyond the titles, is it really that shit posty?
There is a lot of jokes that you go into the lyrics and stuff about it, but it does still, in the end, kind of just talk about trying to make it in the music scene. That is basically what this concept of the album is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just the time. I mean, the album art is an American football parody.
Yeah.
It's burning down the American football house. Microphones and 30-30. I know as a title itself is a meme, but at the end there's a interpolation of 100 Gex Money Machine. One other song I think that's interpolated, and the last one is I forgot the band name. The song is Movies Like Juno.
The world is a marketable place. I'm no longer afraid to sell.
Midwest Pen Pals. That's the band name. Yeah.
Okay.
Nickelback Photograph. One of my favorites of this has a whole line about Will Toledo in there during the whole car seat headrest meme kind of there, where he's it does a line about how he's afraid that Matador Records was going to take him away as a kid.
Huh. Yeah, World is a Marketable Place also has a line that says, "It's Huey Lewis syndrome watching Moulin Rouge twice, thinking the same two thoughts every fucking night."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, yeah.
The Simpsons 2 opens up with basically a YouTube quote, a pretty depressing one, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll let you describe it, because you seem to be a bit hyped about describing that one.
It's just this YouTuber like getting like questions in a Q&A, and then casually like revealing the name, like the reason, like the history of the name Post-N, which ties back to this person's father and the father dying of lung cancer, and like how that all came to be. And it's a long intro. It's like over a minute and a half, but it's a very gripping kind of just perfect thing you select in terms of like how you want to set like an emo tone and like a mood. Like, oh fuck, and that's like a whole thing.
The one other thing that I forgot to mention this is kind of how I came into knowledge about this album. I believe it had been talked about by a couple of people in the scene. Like, I think Ian Cohen's given it a shout out as well. The band, the artist, I think they commissioned it to get the whole album charted in Clone Hero.
Yeah, it's on the Bandcamp page.
It's on the Bandcamp. You can play the whole album in Clone Hero, and it is fun as fuck.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
and
I think
it definitely was not a viral marketing strategy, but it is definitely one of the funniest marketing strategies I've seen.
I think I saw like a bunch of people talking about it when it came out, so I was aware of it pretty much right away.
Well, obviously the band's not had too much success from it. They haven't gone global or anything from it, but this is still kind of their breakout from this, because no one was really talking about them before this album. So
yeah,
I guess in a sense it has worked.
They had an EP last year, and then like a track or two after that, but this was like their debut album. And this is quite an accomplishment for a debut album.
Yeah, so the sound of this is very much deep rooted in the scram scene that we're getting in the fifth wave.
Yeah,
it's quite more melodic in a way as well.
But there's still a lot of good like guitar parts in there too.
Yeah,
like they know how to fucking use a guitar and like use it to counterpoint vocals and all that.
And then there's probably the favorite thing that ever gets put into an album: there's uses of ambience.
Yeah. But even then, like, they also know how to fucking write hooks. Like, the minute 445 words comes on with that got you right. It's like,
got you right where I want you.
It's so fucking good.
I know.
They just can do it. It's just cool. It's just cool. Like, and like it's one of those things where it's like, you listen to a bunch of stuff on this show. You listen to a ton of albums and things, and it sometimes it's hard to make an impression and to kind of cut through all of that. We talk about a number of times how this is good, but it's kind of a blender. This is good, but it's doesn't really stand out. And I'm not gonna say every track here stands out or anything, but like, it cuts through.
There's enough that does.
Yeah.
Even when there are the blender moments, there are just like those moments on songs where, I mean, and there's enough openings on this album which are incredibly memorable. You could say like the middle of the songs are where it starts to lose a bit of its traction, but at least when you're doing it by every opening, you kind of, you get back into there. It's not like you're just dead for the rest of the album. Like, these are short songs in this. This album's like 30 minutes, not even that.
Yeah, but like when your first four tracks, and there's one that I'm not as interested in. Like, I don't really care about Oh Saucy Life, but Simpsons 2, 445 words, Forever's a Cool Word. You have those pretty much stacked back to back. That makes a hell of an impression.
That it does.
I still think my favorites on here as well aren't even on that end. Those are incredible. The ending to this album just goes fucking hard.
Yeah, and then it's like this, if we talk about like what is Dissonant Waves core in a way, this seems like something that would be in it.
Yeah.
because lyrically it talks about a lot of things that we're interested in or that we're aware of, that we're into or covering, and it references the Microphones in 2020, which was my album of the year in 2020.
Yes.
The interpolation of Money Machine, the actual, I think they just took part of Money Machine and put it on the song as well.
Yeah, until you hear the actual lyrics from that. Feels so clean like a money machine is the first part, but then it goes, printing cash covering mum jeans, farm engagement post and Family Guy memes, and force my way into the scene. Act 21 when I'm actually 33. Make every conversation about me. End every treat with a Patreon link. Put the second verse behind a paywall, see? And the ending, which is the interpolation of movies like Juno, which the original lyric is, Dad, I've got some questions. One, where the fuck is mum? This one is, Dad, I've got some questions. One, what tuning do you play in?
It's just a cool thing.
The music video is fucking funny. He went onto Gary's mod and started blasting the song over voice chat. And it's just all the reactions, and people are telling him to fucking leave or mute himself and all the time. It's so stupid.
I love that. I need to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really cool. Like I like that. That's kind of just what it boils down to. Of like, this is. I can understand why everyone kind of tuned into this right away, because this is high quality. This is good production. This is interesting. Song structure, song lyrics. Guitar. Just ideas, and it's kind of wrapped in this like memey, shitpost emo kind of rapping that can tie back to We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever, but it's compared to what they have put out, this is better, but not for lack of trying.
Yes,
this is just that good.
It's a create. I mean, Microphones in 3030 as well has probably got the most amount of just random switch ups that happens in it as well. It's kind of funny that it's a single, so it's the one that's, I believe, is technically not in the 2024 circuit. So apologies for anybody who was thinking about that. But that's the thing. There's so many just different ideas that are thrown around, and it's an absolute breath of fresh air for Scrams.
Yeah.
And you might look at it, you might read into the lyrics and just go, what the fuck, and laugh and put it aside. But behind that, you are still getting basically a full album that's whole concept is about breaking out in the music. I mean, Nickelback Photograph, the ending in there, the whole kind of last verse is basically talking about trying to push through this first CD on a random highway. To random people, even though he's just a kid. It was his first album.
Yeah, there's a good amount of awareness, self-awareness, and like just knowing what's coming in a way. But like the wonderful thing about this scene and how DIY it is, and how just there it is for creators just trying to start, is that it can allow for people that have ideas that just need a place to get everything out to do it.
Yeah.
Like when forever's a cool word turns on just that last line, it's not the same, and it fucking explodes towards the end. It's just so fucking just catching. Like it really draws you in, and it's like that's something that you would think would take like practice and like a lot of like knowledge of like how to write songs and how to like build up to that in your music career. But here we are. It's the first album.
And the insane part is that it's basically at the current moment like one of the best albums of the 2024 cycle for me.
Yeah.
It's I haven't really put enough thought to know what is my current favorite at the moment, and don't ask me to do that. But I've kind of remember just like hearing this at the start of this and knowing that we kind of had a high bar to set for emo this year. And for spoilers for what I am covering next week, there is something that has also set a pretty fucking high bar.
That's fair. And there's something else that I will be picking that I should have listened to a long time ago, but did not, and has set a high bar for me in terms of we should have fucking listened to this forever ago. Why the fuck did we not?
Yeah. Favorites of this, 445 words. The second that just comes in after the fucking, or the opener of The Simpsons 2, it's perfect hitting.
Yeah.
Nickelback Photograph as well. Least favorite is probably something like UUTT.
I like Simpsons too. 445 words. Forever's a cool word. Fucking microphones in 3030. Trace the line. A lot of them.
I want to say one thing about UUTT.
Yeah.
It probably has Trix's favorite lyric of the whole thing. Force-fed guitar pedal memes at gunpoint.
Yeah.
My least favorite's gonna be.
I've done that to you guys.
My least favorite's gonna be Oh Sussy Life.
Favorite for me, Minecraft Creeper Tutorial, and I don't really have a least favorite.
Trix, you didn't really get to say much. I'm curious what else you thought.
I'm gonna be honest, it was kind of a blender for me because I mostly just listened to it while working in a kitchen.
Uh-huh.
And this is not good kitchen working music, I'll tell you that.
No, definitely.
So I'm giving it like my most charitable approach to it.
This is the new barometer, is what is kitchen music and what is not kitchen music.
Yes.
It'll be an interesting line that we'll be continuing to draw throughout the years to come.
Like Shakey Graves, not kitchen music. Unless it's like a slow morning. But like if it's like a high volume night, no.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's jump over to the Big Scary Wing to wrap up this trilogy of albums that we've been covering with them.
Yeah, so it started off with Me and You, just how we covered it, not how it's been in the order. Obviously, Daisy was first, but we covered it in that order. And now, yeah, Wing, the last one, which sounds a lot more like Me and You than it does Daisy, but it is still the kind of end to the. Well, I think at the current moment, Big Scary's in a weird limbo because Tom's kind of moved overseas and Joe's kind of. I think she's recently become a mother. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. So it could be potentially the last Big Scary we get in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I listened to this on the bus from Sydney to Canberra. I've actually only listened to this once, and it's nice, but it's a blender.
Yeah.
There are some really nice tracks. I think what this album does is it kind of bridges the gap between Me and You and Daisy. Because I was not as big a fan of Me and You, because I felt it was too chill. It was too much of that. And I really like Daisy because it was really energetic and had some really cool tracks on it. And this is somewhere, in the middle of that, where there's some really nice tracks, some really cool, slower moments. But yeah, it's kind of just the other one, in a way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is more that style. We'll put it in this way, like Dominic, you preferred Daisy. You didn't really like Me and You, and this sounds like Me and You. So it's it's not getting a more positive response by just what we already know. And then this sounds like a weaker Me and You to me. So I'm just gonna go back to Me and You. And that's where it's kind of exists as an album critically here. It's still, I mean, in the end, I wanted to hear more Big Scary. That's why I picked this. Mm-hmm. You wanted to hear more Big Scary because I told you to. And it kind of brings on to it the whole Shakey Graves argument now. Now we are just covering something that's new and we're saying, well, it's more of this. So is that good? And Big Scary probably have one of, in my opinion, still one of the best albums that was covered on this podcast with Animal. It is a lost episode, unfortunately, but it was an absolutely brilliant variety-filled album that explored vibe or like themes and kind of like, I don't know what the best way, aesthetics, I guess, with the whole hunting, sleeping, eating, or whatever it was, that kind of whole thing. Waking, yeah, in there, and it was something in which, whilst the lyrics did tell a story, the instrumentation also told its own story.
And I think the thing that we kind of miss in the way we covered Big Scary is how wild it is that Animal exists in comparison to these three albums.
Yeah.
And even the one we listened to before these came out, what was it? Vacation. Like that one also is pretty different enough where it's like, yeah, you know, the way we cover them is kind of fucked, but it's still a very interesting band. Even if we're in this kind of rut of like, yeah, you know, it's kind of the third one, and it's not the one that we really liked. It's not the other one that we really liked, but it's this other thing, and that's fine.
I'm reminded that there's been a big change in how Big Scary's albums have kind of gone. I would say they've got two parts to them. They've had Up to Animal is the first part, and then afterwards it's all been released since COVID and has been made kind of in the start of COVID and all that. I mean, I know Daisy has the start, which is a continuation from Laminar, which is the end song of Animal, which is Animal backwards. Mm-hmm. But Daisy doesn't sound like Animal.
No.
I've always felt like that continuation stuff done at the start of Daisy was unnecessary. Contextually to the whole thing, maybe, but like as an actual album part, it doesn't sound the same. But the Big Scary have always been quite varied in the previous one. I mean, the first album is Vacation, but before that they released a compilation called the Big Scary 4 Seasons, which is 4 EPs that were based on every season. That they had spring, they had summer, they had autumn, they had winter, and they all had those different things. You know, compare it to like the color spectrum.
Yeah.
Whilst Daisy, Me and You, and Wing have all been a lot more coherent. But for me, in the end, whilst I do like Me and You, I think it is, out of all the coherent ones they have, the most consistent quality-wise and the most memorable out of all of it. This is my opinion. I think what's lost is just the wild fun that you do get with Big Scary, bringing in all these different sounds, but most importantly, making them still flow well.
Yeah.
I think Wing tries to recapture some of that because it does try to be both albums, I think. But outside of something like Ideal, which is probably the most upbeat and Daisy-like the album gets, it doesn't really go as far.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I was really grooving to All You've Done to Me. That is like a fucking Red Hot Chili Peppers track out of time.
Yeah, it was a pretty good track.
Like the middle of the album, End of the Road to All You've Done to Me is the part where I was really having a good time, because I think those are really solid set of tracks. Like, are they the best? No, but it's the stuff that I enjoyed.
It's just in the end, it's just a lot of it. I couldn't really remember too much of the fine details. Maybe, you know, if I go back to this again, it comes back. I admit I've had the one listen. I'm not going to act like I've been listening to this 10 times and I'm struggling. But I mean, the main draw that I still got is that this was still a good listen from start to finish. Even, you know, we're comparing it to all of the rest of Big Scary's discography, which you kind of still do have to do. I mean, comparing it to as an album in full as well. It's not like if this was any other artist, it would suddenly be fantastic, or if there's any other artist, it would be incredibly bad. It is still, as an album, a good listen start to finish. I mean, I can't tell you it's a great listen.
Sure. It's made for comparison, though, because, you know, this Daisy, Me and You were all conceived around the same time. They are meant to be, you know, complementary different parts of each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, the whole thing was, you know, before these were done, Big Scary was kind of in a thing of like, is this going to be a thing anymore? What is Big Scary? How does that work?
And now we're back into that kind of whole thing as well. We don't know what's going to happen with Big Scary.
You know, Number One Dads was a thing, and Joe was doing Hotel Motel Records, and this was their attempt to kind of do it together again. And that was kind of on the Bandcamp page. It's what they found is that Big Scary is the music that's made by these two together. An equal collaboration where, you know, Thom was showing Joe how to produce, how to use Pro Tools.
I mean, Tom Ironsec has always been a major producer in the Australian scene as well. But I don't think we've ever actually officially covered it. But Hockey Dad's Dreaming EP was produced by him.
Yeah, I don't think we ever did cover it.
I don't think we did.
But this is kind of where we end up right now. Will there be more? We don't really know.
Yes.
But if this is how it goes out, I think it was at least worthwhile to do this last trilogy of albums.
Yes.
In a sense, if you go, a lot of people would like to go for artists and go like, oh well, they should have ended after, you know, the most peak album and stuff like that, or what's considered the last good one, which will go with another artist that's probably had that comment many times, very soon. In the case of Big Scary have always been a band that's played around with their music. And if this is the last that we get from Big Scary, even if it's not as great as their heights, it's the way for them to go. It's just having still been making music. They've never been too popular anyway. They had a hit in the Triple J core fan base with The Opposite of Us, and deservedly so. That was one of my favorite songs of the last decade.
If they put these three together like they did the Four Seasons, I think that would really capstone it.
I don't really have a favorite or a least favorite, but it's nice.
I agree with that.
I like Ideal. I like All You've Done to Me. My least favorite's probably gonna be something like Something to Remember. It's a really nice chill album. But now here we come to the last part of the show, where we fall back yet again to the Radiohead and Muse conversation. This time going a different track, talking about Thom Yorke's album debut, The Eraser, which I think was important to include in this conversation because of how much The Eraser informs everything that comes after. In Rainbows, I don't think has as much of it, The Eraser, but when we go to like other things like King of Limbs or, you know, an offshoot album like Atoms for Peace, The Eraser, it all stems from that. Which in turn stems from the electronic work they were doing through, you know, Hail to the Thief and all that stuff. So we can kind of start here, then we can go to Muse. But yeah, The Eraser.
I don't really have too much to say until we get to Muse, to be honest. I think this is a good thing to cover, even if it's going to be a short cover. Just because it is the context, yes, you are correct. I mean, there's literally a song called Atoms for Peace here. And we kind of got, I mean, this does sound like an evolution from like Kid A, basically.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get that stuff going into the next phase of Thom Yorke and Radiohead, which is, you know, Atoms for Peace and we got In Rainbows next, don't we?
Yes.
Yes.
But we do get I think we get a bit of it in fucking King of Limbs.
Yeah. But it's one of the, like, I'd love to hear what Trix has to say, but what I will say is that I listened to this the other day when it was really raining outside. It was like raining the entire day. And this album is perfect for that. It was raining all night as well. It rained all night, as the song says. But this is what this album was perfect for. You know, like roughly springtime, rain, just kind of depressing mood. You know, well, you can put on an album by a guy that has political opinions that we don't really agree with, but makes interesting music.
My take on this is that I really don't have much to say about The Eraser, but I really, really, really enjoyed Spitting Feathers.
Really?
Yes.
Talk about that.
I just this was one that I just listened to in the kitchen, and it's a bit of a blender, but it was a good one, and just there's good bass throughout. It's I like A Rat's Nest is killer song. Yeah, I like it better than the Eraser.
I think that's fair. I think Spinning Feathers has the best songs from the Eraser on it. Also,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like me in college, there's the 2 years I was in community college. I listened to a lot of stuff. That's where I found Atoms for Peace. But very specifically in that little time frame, I remember listening to a lot of the extended version of Harrow Downhill. I listened to a lot of Muse at that time, and having both of these albums here is kind of a fun way to reflect on a period from like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And that Harrow Downhill extended edition is still my preferred way to listen to that song. It just kind of lays everything out a lot more organically, where every the other version is kind of more shuffled together. Like in layers versus exploding.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I just have a weird aside, and it's more of a complaint at YouTube Music.
Sure.
Trying to get to listen to these albums was a bit of a pain in the ass.
I'm sure.
Because they're on YouTube Music, but when you go to when you search up like Thom Yorke, none of his albums are on there. Dude's got like 250,000 subscribers, no albums. But like, if you search for the name of the album, it'll come up. It's weird. Did I crash out?
You really slow there. The words came through though.
I what?
The words came through, but you were really slowing down.
Weird.
Like you were like it was like you were trying to find your words every half word.
I don't. Was that? I'm kind of high. I don't know. It's been a long day. It has been a very long day.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I think Spinning Feathers was a really cool thing because like you have weird stuff just like I Love Ya or Drunk Machine, which is more of like I don't know what you call it, like a breakbeat kind of mood or like more of like a hip hop instrumental kind of thing going on. It's really weird and experimental at points. It was kind of interesting to hear like Thom Yorke kind of spin off into other things that Radiohead wouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I struggled to get through this one. Admittedly, I thought it was just a bit too slow paced for my liking for the kind of sound that was going there. I did like that it sounded like an evolution from Radiohead instead of just a completely different like. Oh no, I'm Thom Yorke. I do my own shit. It's like Radiohead basically is your own shit. We already know.
Yeah. But in Rainbows will be coming, and that will be like a whole different ballgame at that point. But then it'll kind of recombine back together into being like, okay, this really is all kind of together as it is. Yeah. I don't know. I've always enjoyed the album, though it's not like I would never say it was like my favorite in any particular way. It's just a solid little thing. He could have done a lot worse for his first solo record. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that there was a lot of Thom Yorke solo records.
Yeah, there are a few.
As Dominic does.
We've already listened to the Suspiria soundtrack, and that is quite a really great soundtrack.
It is.
But there's also Anima and Tomorrow's
Modern Boxes, which I would also love to cover down the line. I'm still looking at doing that. But in the meantime, decent little album. Not a ton to say, but it does strike a mood. It is quite a moody little thing.
I'm a basic person
Yeah.
and I liked Black Swan.
Fair. I really like Harry Downhill, of course. Skip Divided had some really interesting moments where he talks about being a dog. I thought that was kind of fun.
I am a dog and I need
Puppy boy Tommy.
I'm a dog, I'm a lap dog, I'm your lap dog is how I believe it goes.
Puppy boy Thom Yorke.
The Eraser itself was alright. Analyze was an interesting track. Symbol Rush kind of ended it nicely. Yeah. But really...
favorites for me, I was going to say favorites for me, just Spitting Feathers in general. Rat's Nest, Drunk Machine. Least favorites, I'll just say most of The Eraser.
Yeah, Spitting Feather was a nice little thing too. I do gotta get props to that. But what we're really here for right now is to talk about the second law, which is where we're gonna have big disagreements. I still think this album is still fucking.
You want to hear the completely neutral take?
Sure, go ahead.
I think this might be my favorite Muse album so far.
I will do my take. I'm going to go on a rant here because you knew I was going to go on a rant.
Sure.
And you can go on. And before we start this, I will let it be known that still at this current moment, whilst I do think this is my least favorite Muse album that we've covered, it is, if we're continuing with Muse, it definitely won't remain that way. Because every Muse album that we've covered to this point, I have been... Well, I mean, the live stuff, it might be a bit debatable, but I'm talking about the studio albums here. I've been pretty positive on.
Yeah.
You might be able to kind of convince me in a sense that this album is better than their debut. But I don't know, there's a certain charm to Showbiz. This album had a bit of a joke when it was coming out that it was going to be a purely dubstep-inspired album. In a sense, that is true, but it's mostly an EDM-inspired album. And that's the thing to kind of remember with this. This is inspired, not a trend ripoff, for the most part. There is some interesting ideas that were brought into this album. And hell, I'll even fucking say it, the first 2 tracks on this album convince you that this shit is going to be fantastic. Supremacy is the best Bond song that was never a Bond song. And it's still it. It was back when this album came out, and it still is now. It is an incredible fucking opener. With the strings hitting... Like, yeah, it's an overproduced, pretentious Muse song, but it's executed well, so it doesn't matter. It is the best Bond song to not be a Bond song. And Madness, even though there are some bits in the production which I think are a whole... Why have they done that? The outro is fucking fantastic. And then the rest of the album happens, and I admire so much that it's trying something. It is not being Resistance Part 2. That's easily what they could have done with this, especially since Resistance had a lot more of that kind of orchestral sounds that were going into there and a bit of electronic influence as well. This is not Resistance Part 2. They were definitely trying something different. We have Follow Me, which actually got a lot of praise in the EDM scenes there, because it was a song produced by Nero, who were one of the basically the big names of EDM in 2011, 2012. Especially with their kind of... They weren't exactly dubstep, but they were dubstep in a sense. Like, songs like Promises definitely were.
Sure.
Definitely.
And hell, even Save Me at the end of this, I kind of zoned out and thought I was listening to an emo album for a bit. It was a very kind of soft, fairy guitar bass. It's completely different, but I appreciated it. And by the time I had finished Liquid State, I'd gone, okay, well, look, in the end, this album, it wasn't as good as it could have been, but it's still an interesting take. I think it was a good exploration in a sound in which it started off well, but in the end, Muse couldn't really execute to its fullest potential. And then the second law, Unsustainable, comes in, and holy fuck, why did they make that song? What the fuck? I know. Talk about the commercial aspect aside. I'm not talking about the commercial aspect because I know it actually had a bit of success working into that because everybody was talking about how Muse had made a dubstep thing. But we are now going back and actually looking into it, and I'm sorry, I really want to try and actually like it because I like that they aren't just making a dubstep song, they are playing their instruments and trying to do that. I think that's a cool concept, but actually listening to it in practice, it's shit. It's so fucking shit. I just can't. And then the next song after that, it sounds like the introduction to the album. Yeah, like, well, not like in Supremacy. It sounds like it could be an introduction to something better, but then it just keeps on going with the stuff from Unsustainable, and it's so bad. The ending to this album makes you start off this album thinking it has a chance of being fantastic, and then if it ended at Liquid State, we would be fine. We would just go, okay, it was just unfortunately mid. But unfortunately, it don't have the abs. There are songs in here which not only include a lot of bad, but they're just absent of anything good, and it's unsustainable, man. It's fuck. Man, why? Why?
So I mean, yeah, that was a fair take. This is good kitchen music, you were saying?
It was good kitchen music, yes.
So that's your take, and that's incredibly valid. You know, on my end of things, this was the entry point I had for Muse. This is where I came in, and this is the first time they had an album come out that I remember. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And for me, as someone who never totally got into like dubstep and EDM, but like occasionally listened, this was like cool for me. I dug this at the time, and I still think that this is the last good Muse album.
I dug this more at the time than I do now. I have. This is my first time properly listening to it in a while, and I actually have come out of it with a lot less enjoyment than I thought I was going to go into it.
Is this Absolution? Is this Black Holes? Is this The Resistance? No. But I think it is still a cut above Origin of Symmetry and Showbiz. I still think it is up there in terms of like albums that I really like from them.
Well, I'm just going to point out that you pissed off so many people who don't have a single thought to themselves by saying that this is better than Origin of Symmetry, and I applaud you.
I mean, it's just one that speaks to me a lot more. I think some of the best Muse songs are here, and you're right. They are Supremacy and Madness. They are fantastic songs that open the album really, really well. Now, I think the album peters a bit because, like other Muse albums, you know, that tend to have that one song that I don't like as much. Like on Black Holes, it was fucking Soldier's Poem and Invincible, right? Where it's like, all right, I understand why they're here, but I don't really dig them. I feel like Second Law is made up of a lot more of those. Because I don't fucking care about Survival. Follow Me is interesting, but then Animals and Explorer, like, they're kind of mid. And, you know, another Prelude. How many fucking intros and preludes does Muse need to fucking make, right?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Panic Station was a song I enjoyed a lot more back then, but now I don't really find as much because it's kind of just that weird combination of funk and R&B that Muse kind of does. Again, it's cool, but I think the Liquid State was a much more interesting track as far as something a little bit harder goes. And I think, you know, Save Me and Liquid State being kind of a Chris Wolstenholme kind of moment on the album is a really unique moment that I really dig as well. I think it's a nice change up to, like, let's go to the bassist and get rid of Matt Bellamy for a minute. I think that's a really strong moment that's not really talked about as much. And Big Freeze, as silly as that song is, it's a better U2 song than U2 can write.
Oh, yeah, well, that's not that high of a bar.
So I
think I could write a better song than you two could write.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Sorry.
So at the very least, it's like, okay, Muse can do the U2 thing and be better. So I'm also okay with that. Now, I think this album ends really strongly, so I vehemently disagree with you. Is Unsustainable silly? Is Unsustainable emblematic of me being like 17 in high school and thinking it's kind of epic? Yeah, absolutely. But I also just really fucking enjoy it. I just love it. It's just so weird.
I can
And
respect that it's a song that will be contentious, and
it
I admire that it's definitely just trying to execute something instead of just getting the producers to do it for them.
yeah, like this is the
But
era when
it doesn't mean it's good.
Muse is really trying to do it themselves at this point. And I when a lot of bands produce their own work, it kind of becomes pretentious and safe and kind of boring. And that's what this album is not. It's pretentious, yes, but it's not safe and
Well,
boring.
there's yeah, I will agree with you that it's not a safe and boring, which is when we get into some future Muse, from my memory of those albums, which I haven't listened to in a while, which is the reason why I'm actually liking doing this. I hate the next album so much more than this.
Drones was such a step down automatically when I heard it. I was shocked. And again, this was my entry point. So as far as I'm concerned, this is still classic Muse. This is the point where things change.
But I need to just kind of defend my hatred of Unsustainable, and I'm going to have to do this by comparing dubstep.
Sure.
That's right. I'm talking about Skrillex again.
Sure.
2012, Bangarang comes out. That is, by everyone's standards, it should be considered the biggest dubstep song. Whether or not it's the best dubstep song is a different fucking topic. It is the biggest one.
Yes.
I think we can say after a decade of this.
I mean, the only other contender is Cinema Remix, I will say.
That is still fucking Skrillex.
I know.
Yes.
So, we compare it to that. But this is what Unsustainable sounds like compared to what songs like Bangarang and Cinema Remix sound like.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You know how there's all those memes about what parents think dubstep sounds like? And it would be like all these car crashes and fart noises, and then turns out that's just We Will Look Back on You and Love You Forever.
Yes.
But there was also a South Park episode on that, where the whole joke was when you get older, you hear the fart noises and all stuff like that to certain kids' music, and then Randy, who's trying to kind of like make it and say like, oh yeah, I'm still young, I'm still getting what's in it, literally does fart noises, thinking that that's actually what it is. And it's not as bad as that. I'm exaggerating on this. But it feels like instead of a lot of the drops and Unsustainable happening being like a great beat and heavy noises that dubstep actually did have, it feels like a bunch of random noises just to go with, look how experimental, look how much we changed and stuff like that.
Sure.
And that's why it fails. A song's like Bangarang, when it fucking hits after this great build-up, that wasn't... I mean, Bangarang's fucking fun. That's the thing. It is... In a sense, Unsustainable is trying to put up a fucking political statement and then go into the dubstep. It's not fun. It's just pretentious. And that's the type of music... There's a certain level of pretentious where they just fucking don't work. And that's what it is. And then you go to stuff like Bangarang, and the drops hit after a really fucking fun-ass build that's happened into there, where it feels like it's the exact type of banging your arm to the rhythm in Bangarang that it would be in Unsustainable.
So I think the problem I have with your argument is that you're comparing the dubstep guy, Skrillex being the preeminent poster child for what dubstep is, to a band that is trying to dabble in it and see what they can come up with.
Well, I'll compare it to an artist that produced a song on this. I'll compare it to Nero. We'll compare it to Promises. That was a song that's kind of been lost in time, but that was fucking huge in 2011. And, that one wasn't in the same sense of a dubstep drop in which usually the chorus was still going into there, but that was in a sense of it had that same similar style of how the drops would hit in the chorus, even though it would have the vocals over there. And that was still a case of we had this kind of glitchy production that was going into this. That was kind of fitting what the vocals were going on to there. I know there's no vocals in this at all, but it didn't feel random. Now you can pick it. You could probably pick a bunch of other dubstep songs, and it will feel random. That was.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost say dubstep had the Guitar Hero problem in which it oversaturated pretty fucking fast. It was a massive fucking trend that built it up, and then there was everyone trying to fucking do it. Now, definitely not the same style, Guitar Hero, or the same length, and in the end, it isn't really what killed it, but it still, we did have a huge rise in everyone doing it, and then we fucking saw artists trying to chase that trend and do it in covers and stuff like that. Never forget the Fall Out Boy Ghostbusters cover with the dubstep in it. Never forget it, because society let that happen somehow.
But to me, this is the right amount of trying it out. This is the right amount of trying to embrace a trend, but not going fully into it, but enough. Because, like, Madness has some kind of the wub-wub in it. Follow Me has more of the EDM style. And it kind of culminates in Unsustainable, right? There's a little bit of it here and there otherwise. You know, Explorers or something like that. But, like, it doesn't focus on it completely while still trying to make it a through line through the album. And as an album, to me, what this kind of ends up being is you started with kind of like a higher society, law and order kind of thing with supremacy and madness, and then it kind of just descends and descends and descends and descends until kind of just society explodes. There you go. Or Unsustainable, where the isolated system, yada yada yada. And if Unsustainable is the climactic end of world moment, I think it makes sense that it's a fucking mess. And I think that is it gonna be, is it the top Muse song of all time for me? Not at all. Is it just a good fun time that I'm like, man, this hits in the right way because of everything that came before it and trying to like recapture the early 10s kind of like hope and weirdly melancholic science fiction that was still kind of trying to be futuristic and edgy but also not completely nihilistic. Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Like, and that's also really why I like Isolated System. I think Isolated System is a fantastic mood piece. It is such a cool, just kind of sad boy, but not too sad moment.
It's a great mood piece, but it's ruined for me by the fact that it's just continuing on from Unsustainable for that and ending that out instead of what could have been Isolated System should have been part one of another part two, which should have been different to Unsustainable. It's a really great build up to something, but then when you realize that it's not building up to anything, it's like, okay, well, is this just a good mood piece?
I disagree because I think Isolated System is like kind of the world as it stands after everything is gone. It's whatever's left, whatever's just there. And it's the remnants. And so you're just kind of having that moment of like reflection and just everything's just fucked forever now.
We are so fucking fucked.
It's the thing where apparently Matt Bellamy is reading World War Z when they were making this album, and so Isolated System ending up on the World War Z soundtrack is a perfectly fitting moment.
Yeah,
like this is a song that was made for that specific mood of a movie. It's an incredibly kind of thing of its time.
I think the mood though that they're trying to capture is done better on Save Me.
I think Save Me is too different to really consider it the same thing.
It's not the same sound, but it's a very similar mood that they're going for. I think it's better captured on that.
I think they sound too different for me to fully agree. I think Isolated System captures more of the version that I'm interested in. I think Save Me is fine. Save Me is cool. But Save Me is more to be blunt, it's more of a blues song. It's more of a deep in the night blue self-reflective kind of isolated, you're by yourself singing this. Isolated System is just more black. It is more gray. It's not focused on any particular thing, person, whatever. It is just expanding across everything. When I'm listening to this, I'm just picturing wide shots of desolation and apocalypse and zombies basically. Save Me is very much about a person.
I will appreciate that you can get this out from this album. I in the end, I still think it's bad parts are counteracted by its really good parts, and then it's just a lot of mid.
And that part I can kind of agree with. So I don't think there are as many bad parts as you. There is quite a bit of midness, though. The midness of it is undeniable. It's still like my third or fourth favorite Muse album in a way, but it used to be one of my favorites.
I think the consistency of the first two just put it above this for me. And as a studio album, this is the least favorite up until this point. I think, looking back at it, I was a bit more hype on this album when it came out, just because I was big into Muse, and I still love a lot of their great albums. But this is Resistance is the last good album in the sense, and this is not the first bad Muse album, but it is the first. I would say it's the first average or just not good Muse album, because it's a case of it's got some great songs, but this is just all personal. This is where everybody will have their different opinions. Because remember, there are people listening to the current Muse albums and thinking they're the best albums of that year. Muse still has dedicated fans. Whether or not we agree with that is a different thing.
Your line of the sand is drawn after the Resistance. My line of the sand is drawn after this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I don't think it's the line in the sand though. That's the thing. I think this is just Resistance had its flaws too. Black Holes and Absolution to me are fantastic albums. Origin of Symmetry is a good album. Showbiz is a good album, and Resistance is a good album. That's how I do it. There's a little bit of a bell curve, and if it kind of ended there, it would be the horseshoe basically. But it was always just kind of on a little downward trend. This was the last. I'm talking critically, not commercially, with all this, by the way. Don't give me the shit of but it had a successful moment, all this that. I'm just talking about critically and the personal opinions of this. So everybody who's gonna fucking hate, anyone who's gonna hate us later, send your fucking emails to Dissonant the Waves at gmail.com and buy our clock on Squarespace or whatever the fuck it is. But going on to this, I don't think it's a line. I think this is still an album that's worth existing in Muse's discography because no one else is trying it like this. And I still absolutely appreciate that they gave it the good old college try. This isn't just half-assing it, it's just it didn't work.
I think if Muse had stopped here, their reputation would have been, for the most part, unblemished.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. Where it's like I think they could have included this in that conversation and gotten away with it.
It's the fact that what we have afterwards. This has definitely had a lot more critiques since, and fairly so. It's still an album. It's still out in the world. It is to be critiqued, and
yes,
for a lot of people, it is they can't get past some of these moments. Some people probably don't even like Madness and Supremacy, so when you go there, well, then you got nothing for this album.
Unless they happen to like Unsustainable, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Trix, I want to hear more about what you have to say, because you were saying it's your favorite so far.
This is just the first Muse album that's kind of clicked with me, I guess I should say.
Fair enough.
Like, it's all right. It's probably not my favorite of the week, but it's all right. I guess that's more damning on Muse's other work.
I mean, what have you gained from this comparison in the long run so far? Have you gained anything?
Ask me when I'm not where I am right now.
That's fair. At the very least, though, do you regret doing this, or is it fine?
No, this is fun.
Okay.
I am so excited for when we cover drones, because if it turns out to be better than I remember, it's going to be interesting enough. But if it turns out to be exactly how I remember, I'm going to have some things to say.
I'll get to share my drones anecdote.
The way things are shaking up to be, I will have drones paired with the most benign thing we could possibly have. So it'll be a mostly drones focused moment.
Well, wouldn't drones though be best to be paired up with the King of Limbs?
Mostly drones focused moment. Wouldn't that be Obama's presidency?
So the thing I kind of learned is that when we have two of them kind of head to head, we kind of don't go as deep as we should. Where I think
that is fair.
Spotlighting one and then the other kind of makes for more interesting conversation. So
that's fair.
Drones is going to be offset from the King of Limbs by like one episode because we'll have the remixes for the Eraser to pair with that, and the remixes for the Eraser is going to be the most benign thing in the fucking world.
Yeah. Yes.
And then we'll have fucking King of Limbs paired with I don't know, Simulation Theory, I guess.
Yikes.
And that'll be very interesting.
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, but
favorites, least favorites, I guess.
The last thing I want to say is that if we're talking about comparison's sake, Second Law is the 6th album to Hail to the Thieves being the 6th album.
No, Hail to the Thieves better. Not by much, but still better. I mean, I was exaggerating. Hail to the Thieves fine. It's a bit of a disappointment still.
And then that's kind of where you think this is too.
I think this is a bit more of a disappointment, but it's weird. It's hard to compare. Favorites: Supremacy and Madness. Again, it fools you into thinking this is going to be another great album from this, because even Madness, whilst it's got its problems, that outro is just fucking killer. They have done a lot of slow songs, which I don't think Dominic has also been too appeal to, especially Invincible, which I think is a more comparable one.
I mean, I Invincible and Madness are about as far apart from me as you could possibly get.
Yeah. Least favorite, do I even have to say it?
Unsustainable.
I had the most edgiest comment I could say there. Do you want me to upset you, Dominic?
Go ahead.
Me when I'm sucking cock.
Which was the edgier joke? Ritz's gay joke or my Obama drone strike joke? Vote in the comments now.
For me, Supremacy and Madness are unquestionably the best 2 songs here. I really like Unsustainable. I really like Isolated System, and I think Liquid State's pretty good. Beyond that, I have notes for a couple of the other songs, but everything else is whatever. Least favorite, we're gonna go with Prelude and Survival.
Favorites opening 2 tracks, least favorites closing 2 tracks.
And that is the albums of this week. You need to rank them.
I'm currently just looking again at what we got. I think I got to properly add them to. Yeah, okay. Look, it's a hard rank this week.
It is.
It really is. I think, honestly, a lot of it's just tied. Is the sad thing. But if I had to go with personal enjoyment, well, honestly, I kind of like listening to the Shakey Graves stuff more than I did the Muse or the Thom Yorke. So, I think, in the end, I think Muse does have to be last. But Thom Yorke, both of their stuff is just above. And then, I didn't think I would do this, but I think I'm actually going to go put Big Scary next. And then Shakey Graves. I mean, yeah, I wasn't so much the above below, but if I compare it all albums and stuff, it's all going to be separated by artists anyway. And then the thing I enjoyed the most this week was the Captain Jazz. It was just kind of uncontested, to be honest.
Trix?
Yeah. Least favorites for me. I'll go with the Captain Jazz, Big Scary, Muse. I'll go the Eraser, then Muse, then Spitting Feathers, and then I'll just kind of put all the Shakey Graves stuff up top with the Above Below at the bottom, and As Per Request at the middle, and the final one, Live at the Good Music Club at the top.
All right. My ranking took a bit to figure out. I was not sure how things were going to shake out, but I think I got it. At the very bottom, I'm going to put Above Below by Shakey Graves. It's just the most least interesting of the bunch to me. After that, we're going to do Live from the Good Music Club, which is a solid set of tracks that we all know and love. But I think As Per Request is the better of the three. And then after As Per Request, I'm going to go with Big Scary's Wing, which is, again, a really solid album, but not their best, but still really good, interesting. And then after that, we're going to go with The Eraser. An album I quite like as a mood, but Spitting Feathers is actually the better one because it's more experimental and interesting and has the best tracks off The Eraser anyway. And then, of course, I can't fool myself. After Spitting Feathers, we're going to go with Captain Jazz. It's a great album.
It is.
But ultimately, like, the things I would say about Captain Jazz are the things I had to say about The Second Law. The Second Law is my number one. Like, a lot of great tracks, some moments that were not as good. But I think, despite me thinking a good amount of it is mid, the amount of good that Supremacy and Madness have, and the amount of stuff I like in Unsustainable and Isolated System, balance it enough where I gotta put Muse first. Captain Jazz is really good, though, too.
We've certainly had a take this week.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna go and pick what we're doing next week.
Yes.
Can I go first?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have found my theme for the year, and it is going to be digging through my watch later.
Okay.
On YouTube, I get served a lot of music because I listen through YouTube Music, and I'll often just save it to my watch later because when I'm on YouTube, I want to watch something. I don't want to listen. Yeah. And one of those watch laters was this band called Sex Mex.
Oh, hell yeah.
Sex
I don't know who they are. Just love the name.
Sex Mex. And we're going to be doing Sex Mex 21, Sex Mex 22, Sex Mex 23, and the Cold Not Cute EP. And on Sex Mex 23, all the demos are optional.
And what was the last EP?
Cold Not Cute. It's the top 4 on Bandcamp.
Got it.
You definitely need to send that over. I already gave a bit of a kind of hype to mine, so I'm going to make Dominic go next and see if he has had a similar thought to me, or if this is something else.
This is going to be something else. I had a 2024 pick lined up, but I was listening to it today, and I really wasn't feeling it. So I was kind of...
Which one was it?
I'm not going to tell, because I don't want to color people's experience with it when we do cover it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of casting about to see what else I wanted to cover.
Okay.
And a theme that I want to cover this year is kind of finishing the homework of covering a bunch of bands that we've kind of have covered over the years, but we're really close to finishing their discography, kind of wrapping them up. And I kind of want to just do that for a bunch of them throughout the year, because we're coming up on the 5th anniversary. Sounds like a really nice way to clear house and kind of start injecting a lot new material down the line.
Yeah.
So, I was listening to the Paraglow EP.
Ooh.
Either of you fucking listen to this thing?
I don't think I did. I think I might have just been a dickhead and forgot that.
Holy fucking shit. This EP is fucking great. So we're gonna listen to the Paraglow EP, which is Paranol and Asian Glow. And since we're right there, we're gonna wrap up Paranol by also covering the first Paranol album, Let's Walk in the Path of a Blue Cat.
All right.
Fair enough.
So Paranol, obviously, I'm not gonna count compilation things like that, or kind of random tracks here and there. But as far as the main discography, that's kind of what I'm hoping to kind of wrap up for a number of bands this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my theme for this year is stuff that I either need to listen to because I've been out, or stuff that I've been listening to on the travels to going out. And I typed this one up as kind of the big album of this year. I don't think it should really come as any surprise. This is going to get picked, and I'm gonna kind of guess that in your two heads, there's a couple of bands that this could be. It's very obviously a fifth wave emo, because that's what I've been covering for the past couple of years now, and I'm not going to stop. But there's an album that I've definitely been listening to, and it's just incredible. The range of sounds that happens on it, despite the fact that it's more coherent than the one that we have covered. Fuck it, I can't be bothered during the hype. This might have been the one Dominic was on about. It's Sophomore Slump, Call It Thump from Stomach Book.
I was just talking about how fucking good the Paraglow EP was, but I'm very excited to cover. What is it called? Sophomore Slump?
Call it Hump. The new album from Stomach Book.
Yeah, Calathump, whatever. Yeah.
I can tell you, Vivi has not gotten happier with the lyrics.
That makes sense.
Yes.
But this is exciting. All right.
Was this the one that you were thinking of? I assume no.
And when I said what?
That you were thinking of. But
no.
That was probably Glass Speech then.
No.
Ah, okay. Huh.
Something else that we've definitely have covered something related to that band before, but not the same way.
Yeah, I'll probably find it out later, but I think there'll be something that'll be left later for a review in a later episode that we'll forget that we had this cover.
Yeah.
It was Saviors by Green Day.
Nope, not that either.
I know. I had to plant the crumbs.
But yes, so that turns this next episode into being about Sex Mex and Sex Mex 21, 22, 23, and the Cold Not Cute EP. I would like to wrap up Paranol by doing Paranol's first album, Let's Walk in the Path of a Blue Cat. But, to me, honestly, more importantly, the fucking Paraglow EP. Holy shit.
Hell yeah.
And then, Ritz, you have chosen Stomach Book's new album, Sophomore Slump, Calathump, Call It Thump, whatever, Call It Hump, whatever you want to call it. I didn't even put that together until you said it, honestly.
I do have one last guess for what you were going to pick, just because I know this is an artist that we cover a lot and usually do cover.
Yes.
And that's that Postcard Nowhere has put out a new release.
No, I forgot all about that. It's not that either.
Okay, good. We're not disrespecting Postcard Nowhere this year.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for us then. You can follow Dissonant Waves on YouTube, on Twitter. We have the website, dissonantwaves.space. We have a store kind of thing, merch place to buy our clocks and our shower curtains and all that fun shit.
We have YouTube channels and stuff there in the description below.
Yeah, and we're going to have a micro episode at some point here, right, Trix?
I totally forgot I need to get on that, but yes.
Hell yeah. Anyway, my name is Dominic. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI on Twitter. Dominic Chikoki on YouTube. I'm also on the Games My Mom Found podcast quite a bit. When this is coming out, will probably be around the time of the Kirby Air Ride episode I'll be on, but the Kingdom Hearts Recoded episode will also exist as well. Check them both out.
I've been Ritalin. You can catch me on my Instagram, which is in the description below, but it's Ritalin for Kids. It's probably the thing to look at the moment because I've been posting every 10 gigs every every one of those 10 gigs, and honestly, the gauntlet was fucking tiring, so I'm probably passing out tonight.
I've been Trix. You can catch me on Twitter.
You're really breaking up there again, but we got through it. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.